Welcome everyone to the Voice of the Terminus show. I'm here with Lex. Say hello, Lex.
Hello, people.
And in the background we have our manager, Shy. Say hello, Shy.
Hello.
She's ready with the whip.
She'll be taking questions, thoughts, ideas throughout the show, and towards the end she'll bring them up and we'll go through them and try and answer as well as we can. So, before we kick off today's topic, we also have a few things to announce regarding our website as well. So I'm going to bring up the website and
some idiot went and messed with it.
Lex has made a few changes to our website to better accommodate all the relevant info that you guys need in one local place. So you'll see the latest show directly on the main page of the website. And you'll also see the latest video from VR as well when they put it up. And to your left, you've got the schedule showing the next 5 shows that we have planned. And on the right, you have links. There are other features that we're going to be implementing, Twitter feeds for VR and ourselves. And we'll be working on introducing a newsletter for you guys, so anyone who's interested in registering for the newsletter can gather the newsletter, and stuff like the schedule, the latest screenshots, the latest videos from VR, from the VOT, latest imagery will all be put into one newsletter that we will send out once or twice a month depending on how frequent the information is. So good times to look forward to.
Yeah, and the site should work decently well on mobile devices as well. So yeah, there's that.
So let's go and kick this off. Today's topic is about a mechanic called guild currency. Purely theorycraft. It's an idea brought up by Sacred, and we wanted to explore this idea and see if we can expand some of the thoughts behind it and add some little twists and tidbits towards his general idea. So I'm going to go and read off this document that he provided with us to get it going. So guild currency is just his way of enhancing DKP to actually be a real part of the game. Things that are needed to make this work: ability for the guild leader to create guild currency based off the size and needs of the guild. Guild vendor that allows guild officers to sell, buy items with guild currency. I would expand that basically to guild members to sell and buy items with guild currency. A way for the guild leader to see how many coins are available. In the guild bank you could have, say for instance, 10 that haven't been put out to the guild, and 2,000 in guild currency is spread out between the players, so which you would see that 1,900 of the guild currency that's available to you. This is just an example. Is spread out between the players within the guild. He's also sure that there are many ways and pieces that may be needed to put this all together to really make this work. But for now, he'll stop there and believe that the 2 things that are more important in his thoughts. So how would guild currency look? Guild currency would look like just another type of coin in the player inventory. How long would it last? So the coin would last until the player left the guild. Upon leaving the guild, the coin type would become empty and the total GC amount seen in the guild bank would change to show that guild currency no longer exists. How long would guildies earn guild currency? Or how would guildies earn guild currency? So through raids, the guild officer would be able to create guild currency vouchers at the end of a raid or whatever. The guild sees fit. The guild officers would give out these vouchers to be turned into the guild vendor for guild currency. Guild officers would be responsible for setting the amount of the voucher, and the guild bank would reflect the change in overall guild currency active based off the amount pulled. He also looks at crafters as well. Crafting, the guild vendor would allow the guild leader to buy crafting supplies with guild currency from guildies. As an example, guild needs 3 stacks of skins. The guild leader would set the buy price for each stack up to 3 total at 1 guild currency each. As an example, Guild members are able to sell their mats to the guild for the set price. Other options for crafters could be made available, but this allows crafters to slowly earn guild currency, which could be spent on items in the guild vendor from raids or dungeons. He looks at other things like he's sure there's many other ways, but these are the 2 starting points for him. We'll put a placeholder in other, as I believe he can get pretty crazy with the what ifs. Could guildies lose guild currency? So, he believes that the guild leader should be able to control guild currency to an extent, meaning set guild currency caps on players if wanted and such. But he does not believe they should be able to freely change it. He'd prefer the only way for people to lose guild currency is to leave the guild. However, maybe there is a way for guild leaders to change a player guild currency if needed. He hasn't thought this all the way through yet. Why do we need guild currency? Short answer is basically we don't, is what you're saying. People have used loot councils and DKP on outside websites and such for years, but he feels that guild currency offers a different approach to rewarding not only raiders in the guild, but crafters as well, hopefully given a fair and in-game visible way to exchange goods and services within a guild. Touch free is always best, but what's wrong with a thank you guild currency? There are lots of what ifs and things that might need to be in place for this to work, but overall he thinks the idea is neat to consider as part of the Pantheon Guild experience. So that's basically his rundown on this idea. In general, it's a good thought. I personally kind of would drift away from looking at it from a DKP point of view, as a general currency for guilds and something that is purely optional. It should be an experience that guilds could offer as a means to reward their members for contributing. I see many other ways to do this, but before we get into all of this, what do you think, Lex? What's your initial thought? Dude, you're muted.
Sorry, one of my cats is screaming, and I just ate, so I'm burping. And I was trying to be polite. It's a very interesting idea. I'm going to be a little bit on the bad guy side here, and just simply state that personally, I do not think it would ever work. But here's why. With the guild currency, say, like what the guild bank's saying, you have 10 out of 2,000 left. You know, so you have 10 guild currency coins that you can distribute. The rest already being distributed. Well, that caps it, right? So if you're selling stuff to vendors to get guild currency, if you're raiding to get guild currency, eventually it's going to run dry, and then there's no point of doing either. Mm-hmm. There's one very, very large issue. So let's say you can, as the guild leader, issue more guild currency. You can make another 2,000 coins to do that. Well, eventually you're going to run into a point where it's just not worth anything anymore. You know, the whole point of DKP was that you have currency to purchase things that are going to be, you know, non-tradable. Basically, the minute you loot that thing, it's stuck to you for life until you destroy it. You know, so it was kind of like a disposable form of currency. The way guild currency is being outlined here, it is not disposable. You know, because if you're buying other items besides like raid level gear or whatever, then I mean it's not disposable, because you can buy it and then you can sell it for money, trade it back to this, and just get a whole complicated mess with it. That's the first reason. The second reason is that if you put officers in control of the amount of the value for vouchers, what if there's corruption? It happens, right? I mean, officers get corrupt. Officers sell their services. They have favoritism. You know, it happens. Mm-hmm. So putting something like this that affects the entire guild in the hands of officers is generally a pretty bad idea. Because someone, somewhere, somehow is going to skew that system.
Yeah.
You know, That's why with DKP things, a lot of it's automated because you can't skew that. Granted, some will allow the raid leaders to do certain things, but we're not going to get into that stuff. Because we'll assume that the guild leader would be able to, again, do something similar. But like I said, it is a very interesting idea. I think it is one step closer to the path that we should take to revitalize that particular area of MMOs. So, like, Sacred, I know you're probably going to watch this after the fact. I'm not here to dump all over your idea. I'm just saying that there are plenty of flaws, and like you said, there's a lot of what ifs. But what do you think of it?
The general idea, like I said earlier on, is a good thing. I don't see it so much enhancing DKP, to be honest. The way I would use guild currency is a way for guilds, optional, like I said, optional, completely optional. It's something you can do or not. It's up to you. Is a way for you to reward your players, your guild members, for contributing to the guild. You know, for harvesting, crafting, putting items into the guild bank and so forth for other players to use. It's a way to, get people active and to socialize with the guild. That's how I see the guild currency being used. Like you said, there are definitely some flaws. I wouldn't necessarily cap it. How I looked at this is, let's say for instance a guild leader can go to the guild bank, and obviously this is something that would have to be defined by the game itself, is an exchange rate for plat for guild currency, if you want to do that. So I could go to the guild bank and I could say, right, I want to go and purchase 20,000 guild currency, and I have to pay a certain limit of plat or whatever to get this guild currency. It's purely optional, and then I can basically put this out. Another thing is, is limiting it to a certain number, to a cap. Same with the pricing. That should be something a guild should be able to do on their own. So if a guild wants to give out guild currency on a 1 basis or a 10 basis or a 100 basis, it's up to the guild. However they want to do it, however they want to rate their things. Another thing to combat what you spoke about earlier on, with the, I'll go and spend my 10 guild currency, for an example, on this raid breastplate that has been put in there, and then I'll go and sell it to a vendor, is maybe there's a way to implement a bind on equip. If you buy it from the guild vendor, it goes to bind on equip once you buy the item. That's a way of combating it. Obviously, that would require a lot of work as well from the developers to implement such systems, and it bring additional workload that theoretically they've got enough on their plate as it is. But yeah, the general concept is a good one. I kind of like it. It's a way to also give your guildies the chance to actually keep their hard-earned cash. It's the same with when you go on raids. After a while, you start paying out the plat that's dropped from the NPCs. You do the monthly payouts. You can actually keep that plat and use that to actually enhance your guild, upgrade your guild, or go onto the go to the local brokers or whatever, and buy those expensive items that you may require to further your raid advancement with the actual money. So you could basically, instead of giving out platinum, you give out guild currency and put all those items in there. So that's how I kind of look at it, and there's a lot of room for advancements with this, and there's a lot of things to consider as well.
Now, if I were a game developer and this kind of idea was pitched to me, I mean, I would probably say that this would be a facelift on the EverQuest 2 status system.
Yeah.
Where you could find items that you would basically hand in for guild currency. Maybe there's a vendor that only accepts guild currency it could be fun things. It could be stuff for your home, like a guild banner. Or it could be for a guild-wide buff that you could purchase. It could be, maybe a tabard for just cosmetic look. Just a lot of. I see it more as a cosmetic system that could be enjoyable. Yeah. That only affects your guild. And yes, then I could see that you could trade in crafting materials and get guild currency back, because it's even if there was a flaw in the system that for some reason gold ore was giving you 10 times the amount of anything else, and people just start going crazy. Really, who's going to benefit? Well, let's say you can buy a lot of guild buffs. Well, if you only have one slot for guild buffs at a time, but they last, we'll say 3 days or something like that, then it doesn't matter how much money you have, or guild currency, I should say, sorry. It doesn't matter how much you have, because you're not going to just constantly drop it on like 10 or 15 other buffs. You still have to wait for these ones to expire, Yeah. And in terms of currency, if you can buy all the cosmetics because you found a flaw, like really, really fast, like within a week, then you're still technically no further ahead than anybody else. You just look fancy.
Exactly. I see exactly your way. Like status items. That's how I would approach this. Because DKP is normally something that's given out to raids, and this is a way to offer your guildies first the items that are dropped from the raid with guild currency. So you don't have to, go around giving DKP and lending plat here and lending plat there and scrounging there. You can earn your guild currency, and with that you go to the guild only vendor who has these items listed, and then you could set even maybe timestamps. From today till next Friday, this item is available for 5 guild currency. After that, it basically goes back into the guild bank and it gets sold off for real money.
See, I always thought that the guild status system in EverQuest 2 was a very good start to a system that was never really finished.
Yeah.
I mean, let's say you do have a guild vendor that takes guild currency, he can only sell 10 things at a time. Have the guild leader or the guild or a guild officer who's flagged to do it choose those items, and that way you don't have like this one NPC that can give you health potions, mana potions, strength potions, stamina potions, etc., etc. Because when you don't have something there, you have to rely on other players.
Yeah.
Right? So there's no health potion, and health potions just happen to be a thing. So now you're going to go and seek out an alchemist. And you're going to think twice about giving all of your herbs to this vendor so that you get guild currency. There might be something that you want, like maybe a big fancy top hat, So you turn in some crafting materials that are maybe lower level that no one really needs. It's just collecting dust in the bank. And eventually you work up to this fancy little top hat. So now you've got your prize. You got rid of some stuff that isn't really useful to you anymore, or necessarily anybody in the guild at this point. And you do get a little bit of satisfaction from being, a special little snowflake.
Yeah. I can see it, like you said, with the status and everything, with the status items. They were on the right path with that, and that's how I can see this system working. It's something that can be defined by the game itself. When the items drop, you can either take that item. It has a set value on either.
Right.
It has a set sales price on plat. It has a set sales price on guild currency. You can take that to your guild vendor, turn it in. You get that much guild currency for that item. You're done. That's the easiest way to go about it. And with that guild currency, then obviously within the guild, you could structure payouts. It's a good way also to implement taxation as well. For guilds that want to do this, who want to have a tax where everybody has to contribute and put something forward towards a guild, be it coin, be it materials, etc. You can reward these people by giving them guild currency as a little thank you for actually being active.
When at the end of my EverQuest career, I mean, I'm sure I've mentioned this plenty of times in the past videos. Like I used to run scavenger hunts and races and drunken races in Kellethan. I would love to be able to say give out some guild currency so that people could get maybe some kind of fancy cosmetic of their choice because even when you're giving away a prize, the person who wins might not necessarily use it. For example, one race one of the first races I did, you got a really nice sword. The person who won was a cleric. And I'm like, well, now I feel kind of bad because you can't actually use this, and all you're going to do is end up selling it or making an alt. You know, that wasn't my intention. So I ended up having to try to find things that get something that everybody could use, and that way when you're done, it's like, oh, here you go. This would essentially eliminate that problem because I say, here's 10 guild coins, you know, go to your local guild vendor, and, you know, even if you're not in my guild, you know, but there would have to be some form of limiting factor so that someone in a rival guild doesn't come over and be like, oh, here's 10,000 guild currency.
Yeah. It would basically have to be, you know, limited to your guild. You know, somebody from a different guild can't just come in and, you know, exchange or give you his currency that he has. So basically, everybody's currency would be individual, to an extent that it's, you know, defined by your guild tag. Right. Technically. So that's how you would basically limit it, because this is also a great way to promote socializing and, you know, doing little things like you mentioned earlier on with the you know, fluff items. It's somebody's birthday in the guild, or, you know, somebody's having a shitty day, or somebody, you know, is wanting a certain item for quite some time now. You give him the guild currency, he goes and buys it.
Right.
You know, you can reward people and, you know, just surprise people. Hey, Lex, it's your birthday today. Here's 1,000 guild currency. Go have at it. Right.
See, now, I'm at the age now where if I knew someone in my guild was having a crappy day and I was an officer, what would I do? I would take all of my guild currency. Say there were fireworks for 5 coins apiece. I'd take every little bit. I'd go get tons of fireworks. I'd have everyone go to the guild hall or wherever we all like to socialize, get everyone fireworks, and the minute that person walks in the room, you know, happy Tuesday. Just something to make them smile, because I know they're having a rough day. Yeah. You know? And guild currency would definitely empower stuff like that. It's just, it would still require an awful lot of balancing.
Oh, definitely. There's so much, you know, the base idea is a good one, but there's just so much to look at. There's so many perspectives to approach this, to see how it could technically really work, for this to be something that could enhance DKP, could enhance the way you socialize within a guild. Because, if you know, the good thing about this, it's a proactive way to engage your guild. Because nowadays, because if you look at guilds nowadays, members don't join because they want to be a part of your guild. They join because you have something to offer that they couldn't get in a different guild. It's basically personal advancement. That's the only reason people join nowadays. They see who's got this mount unlocked, or who's got
further
this
along in the raids.
Who's further along in the raids? I'll go and join this raid force. I'll go and join this guild because they got, you know...
if guild currency was even just a fluff, like a fluff feature, we'll say, you know, mostly cosmetics, maybe some fun items, guild only, you could still reward people with coins if they came to a raid. You know, if someone had perfect attendance, you know, it's just one more thing that somebody gets, and it's not necessarily giving them an advantage over another player, but it still feels nice to be able to give someone something for a job well done. You know, it's like, oh, you know, we downed this guy on the first try. Well, here's 5 coins for everybody. Now you're 5 coins closer to that tuxedo cosmetic armor or something, you know? So, I mean, it can definitely be worked into real world systems. I would say avoid making it a DKP system or even a DKP extension, simply because a lot of different people handle that kind of system differently. Exactly. And it's bad to assume they're all going to enjoy the same thing.
And again, you know, like you said, with that, on that note, this should be something that is completely optional, and it shouldn't have any favoritism or any benefits if you use it or not. There shouldn't be any pros or benefits that you gain from this. This should be seen as a way for guilds to enhance their guild
enjoyment.
community, you know, the way they engage with their guild, the way they interact with each other, to kind of bring back that socialism, that way to socialize and you know, work together to achieve common goals. You know, you don't want to go craft, or you don't want to go and craft these items, or you don't want to go harvest this, you don't want to put money towards the bank. Well, hey, I've given you a reason to. Boom, here's guild currency. You know, you can earn something for actually giving back to the guild and putting the time and the effort in to help advance the guild.
Right. Like, I mean, I even think it would be neat if you had like a fun item that was just like a flag with your guild banner, and you could place anywhere in the world. It stays there for an hour. Go up to throwing fast right on the wall and just pop your guild flag, and it's waving in the wind with the other ones, and it's just like, it means nothing really, but it's like, look, it's our guild flag, yay!
You know, there's other games out there as well where I think it was Age of Conan who had, you know, a town squire that went and screamed. You could pay him some coin and he would basically advertise your guild. The more coin you basically paid, the more he would obviously advertise your guild. You know, this is maybe a way, you know, this is, you know, the fun stuff that you could technically do. You know, you go into Throne Fast, go to this town squire, you say, hey, you know, scream my guild out loud for, you know, a couple of hours. You know, just walk around Throne Fast and scream, hail, voice of Terminus, hail them, and just for fun, you spend guild currency.
Yeah. I mean, even if there was just like, I could even see like a couple of quests that would, like, that are, you know, guild quests where you'd actually have to like hand in some guild currency or something maybe to trigger it. And it would be one more thing that you can kind of look at as a benefit to being in a guild, whereas there's a lot of games out there's really no benefit to being in a guild beyond raiding. You know, I mean, let's face it, a lot of the less established guilds will say, they'll get into a game, no one will talk, you know, or they'll just very casual, like you're standing in line at the frickin' post office kind of talking. And then raid time comes and everyone's having a good time, and you know, you get your gear, then you go off and do your thing and rinse, repeat. You know, there is no connection there, but when you do get some of these fluff items, it does trigger conversations. It triggers fun or memorable moments, which in turn triggers relationships, or at least opportunities to form relationships.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, one of the best relationships I've ever forged in my entire life was basically forged over dying a ton on box raids.
Yeah.
You know?
I like what Smoko said. Put a guild flag at the entrance or on the ground where a raid boss died. Boom! BOT was here. Bow. That's fun stuff. It's a way to engage with the community without taking away your hard-earned money for, you know, actual viable items. It's a fun thing to do. So, you know, I would actually even go as far and say, if they have anything like status or faction items or anything like that, this is a way they could maybe go with it. So all your unlocks would have to be earned through guild currency, for instance. Right. But you can use this guild currency both ways. You can earn guild currency to unlock stuff, but you can also pass on this guild currency to your members to go to your guild specific, your own personal vendor, to purchase mats, items, potions, stuff that everybody's crafted. Because at the end of the day, this all costs time and money for the crafters to go and craft all these nice items, for the people to go out and, you know, get the spell upgrades and all this good stuff. So maybe there's a way to reward those people. So you craft, say for instance now you're crafting, you go and craft 1,000 arrows, you put those 1,000 arrows into the guild bank, and a stack of arrows costs 10 guild currency. It's fluff money.
It is.
But at the end of the day, you could then take that and you could go and maybe get some mats out of the mat chest. You know, you need some wood to go and make some new items, so you're not losing anything. You're not actually having to go and spend your hard-earned plat at the brokers to go and get, you know, the rare wood that you need to make these arrows. No, you can go to our banker, to the materials, and go, oh look, there's somebody's put down 10,000 of these wood pieces. I've got 300 guild currency. Boom, you go and buy it.
Right. See, and it's interesting that you mentioned using it as almost like a currency from the bank, assuming there is a guild bank, because more often than not, you know, there have been times where I would take something from the guild bank or the guild bank character, and I would feel like I have to replace it with money. But in the end, like, you do hit a certain point in a lot of MMOs where the money just doesn't matter anymore, unless it's World of Warcraft, where the repair costs last time I remember were absolutely insane. But in most other games, money is virtually meaningless when you hit a certain point in your advancement. So it always felt like I'm paying platinum for items that I need, and I'm not really giving you back anything that's even of any value, you know? But it's more of a token gesture. With guild currency, you kind of have that room to where you can make it specifically valuable without affecting the value of your actual in-game currency, be it plat, silver, gold, whatever. You know, it's its own separate entity, and you can adjust it accordingly without affecting the rest of it.
And there's also ways to inflate or to manage the influx of platinum and guild currency. Like I said, like I mentioned earlier on, maybe you can go to the guild banker and you can exchange plat for guild currency or vice versa. So you're taking away from the game. So you're keeping the value of that money, the real platinum money, in-game currency, at a level where it's valuable. So if you want, you know, basically the game developers or the game itself would define what the exchange rate's going to be if you buy guild currency or if you sell guild currency. So you might get 2 platinum for 20,000 guild currency, but you might get for 2 platinum, you might only get 200 guild currency.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I mean, and an exchange rate is something that you can definitely automate. You know, every time there's guild currency paid out, then you make the exchange rate a little smaller or a little bigger, whatever you want. You know. And speaking about what Smoko said, like how they hope that hundreds of plat don't become a thing in Pantheon. You know, there's no need to make a gold at level 5. I mean, I'm right there with you. Yeah. I remember joining EverQuest like a year ago, and I was getting like a platinum a kill at level 4, and I was like, really?
You know, this is another thing to look at as well, kind of drifting away, because to look at his idea. If we think about how the real world works, or basically works when it comes to currency and value of goods, the more advanced we get, the more people we have, the more items that are on the market, the more it's going to cost. If you look at cigarettes, for instance, just as an example, cigarettes used to cost a penny. They used to cost a minimum of a fraction of what they cost now. Now in the UK, you spend about £12 for a pack of cigarettes. Or in my case, in Germany, a pack of cigarettes goes for about €6. I used to be able to buy a pack of cigarettes for €3 or for €2. And because, you know, obviously the more people demand this stuff, the more it's going to have to cost, or the more it goes up in price. So maybe there is a way for the game to automate certain values of all the given items that they have that basically go up in influx. The more people that go on this server, the more you have higher level people, the more level 50s are around who are running through all these dungeons and getting all this gear, the more it inflates, the more expensive these items become.
Right. See, I play a lot of sci-fi, space game kind of stuff, and one of the reasons that I enjoy them so much is because they really do have almost real world economies. The NPCs will ship materials around, and they'll become more valuable where they're being shipped out of, but they'll become less valuable where they're being shipped to. You know, I know it's a lot of work. because MMOs are an insane amount of work to begin with. So it's not like I'm sitting here going, oh, we'd like that in Pantheon. But it's certainly something that would set one apart, you know, and maybe guild currency would be a good place to start experimenting with such a thing.
Yeah, maybe.
Because I mean, it's only affecting guilds as a guild entity.
Yeah,
you know, doesn't really affect anything else. And if you make it a cosmetic system, it's no big deal if you make a little whoopsie.
The main thing would be, you know, that's the one thing though that I would demand per se is it would have to be valued by the game itself. You can have freedoms to basically give out or rate the prices for the items that you have yourself per guild. You know, one guild wants to put, you know, 1 guild currency per piece of wood. The other one wants to put 1 guild currency for a stack of wood. The other one wants to put 100 currency. That you can do all yourself. But how it's value would have to be completely run through the game, because I also see this as a way to money sink as well.
Mm-hmm.
So that
it could be.
So that the value stays up. Because I could basically go and say, look, I got 2,000. I got you know 20 plat left over.
Mm-hmm.
And I go to the guild vendor. I see, oh look, there's some cool items in there. They got their prices. I go to my bank. I can't purchase them with plat. They're there in the guild vendor for guild currency, and I really want that item. So I go to my guild banker, exchange rate. I transfer my plat to guild currency because I got it left over. I go to that vendor and I go and purchase these items. I've taken 20. I've just basically, the game has taken 20 plat out of the game.
Mm-hmm.
So it's keeping it stable. And
because one of the biggest problems in every MMO is proper money sinks.
Mm-hmm. You know, the biggest.
Go ahead.
Another big problem, basically, as well, is like, you know, how could you manage or secure, like you mentioned earlier on, purchasing these goods and going to a vendor and then selling them off for plat? You know, that's another big issue that you have there. You know, one idea was to bind on equip, but how would you do that with materials? With mats, you know, for instance.
Well, as long as the cost is fine, I could see it being more of a padding. Like, oh, I'm trying to skill up from 90 to 100.
Mm-hmm.
I got to 99, and I'm 4 planks away from possibly another skill up. So I'll go to the guild vendor, spend my guild coins, get those planks, and get my point.
Mm-hmm.
You know. But I wouldn't want to see it balanced for like bulk transactions for materials. Because that kind of takes out the need for gatherers. And it's a very fine balance, especially since crafters are finally getting some love with Pantheon. Yeah. I would be very, very cautious about tampering with that balance.
Yep. The way I see, you know, with the crafters and the harvesters, this is something I would reward them with, period. I give them guild currency. If they put the mats in, or put those crafted items into the guild bank or into the guild vendor, so be it. They basically get guild currency as a reward for putting those. And
you can do I forget what they were called in Elder Scrolls Online for crafters, where you basically pick up a quest where, like, you know, make me 5 iron helms and 4 iron short swords. You could do something similar with crafters, but for guild currency. But then you run into the issue of, what if they're not in a guild?
Yep.
Do you just give them money? If so, how do you make sure it's the proper amount of money that doesn't overinflate the economy for what they're using, basically? You know, that's rough.
Yeah, it's definitely there's definitely a lot of
all I can say is
experimentation.
The guys or girls who are behind the design of the systems and the balancing of Pantheon, they have more respect from me than probably any other portion of the video game industry, because I do realize what kind of a horrible, almost impossible task is ahead of them, and I certainly wouldn't want to be in their shoes.
Mm.
Because it's rough.
Another thing that always bugged the hell out of me is having all these different currencies for all the different tiers, the raid zones and everything. So you got, in EverQuest 2 for instance, you got patterns, and then you got this coin and that coin for this expansion, and this expansion and that expansion, you got coins. And the thing is, those things were useless after some point.
Right.
Because they were only for that specific level.
Right.
The thing that also is missing when it comes to this is maybe a way to convert older coin to new coin.
Right.
There's
another guild out there that's called Skyforge. Basically a hub-based MMO. The problem with that game is that it's basically a currency grinder. Everything, there's like 50 different currencies, you know, and you basically grind areas to get the coin that you need for a specific thing. Then you move on, you know, to a different coin. That's probably the only downside I can really see for the guild currency. It's like one more coin that I have to deal with. But at the same time, you know, if you're just using your standard in-game currency, you know, you got to mix it up a little bit. So if they do start adding stuff similar to the guild currency system, I would say just be very cautious and add them very, very slowly.
Oh yeah, it's definitely something that needs to be looked at from every direction possible. It's something I could see working, to the extent that it's optional, that it doesn't destroy the value of the real in-game money, that it's well balanced out, because you know, this is something that I would love to do in my guild personally. I would love to actually reward people for actually contributing to the guild. I'd like to give out, you know, the crafters that go and craft items and put those into the guild bank, or go with the people that go out and harvest mats for us and put them into the guild bank. I'd like to reward them with something. The people that put money towards the guild so we can finally get our guild hall or whatever. I want to reward the people for doing it. If I'm going to tax you, it's harsh enough. So why not get something out of it? So if you've got to pay 20 plat a month, Lex, as, you know, guild tax, hey, here's 200 guild currency. Have at it. At least
tax is a whole other ball of wax that I'd hit with a frickin' sledgehammer.
But you know, that's how I would basically look at it.
Right.
You know, if I'm gonna give out something, this is maybe a way to do it. And maybe you could have
with giving away stuff for guilds for, say, morale or just for fun or whatever, just to brighten someone's day. Money you can give to anybody. You know, guild currency you can only give to guildies.
Yep.
It makes it, in a way, a little more special because only a select group of people can get it. Meaning, like, if it's only for your guild, then okay, then even if it's your best friend that you've known for 30 years and he's in another guild, you can't help him out. You know, you're not part of my gaming family, so I can't. You know, you can't really do anything here. And I don't know. I mean, I see benefits. I see downsides. The downsides are only when it has any like performance modifiers, or when there's less automation. You know, there's less standard. You do this and you get this back. You know, when you put input into the hands of users, as a guy that makes websites and programs, when you put input in the hands of users, it never goes right. Ever.
Yeah. So, anything
but
else?
it is a good idea. I really like where Sacred's going with it. I would like to see him kind of expand on it a little more.
Oh, definitely. You know, if anyone
at least get a little more well-defined idea of it.
Yeah, I mean, there's so many things to look at as well. The use of how the defining how you're going to be using it, break that down into sections and stuff like that. I mean, if you guys out there in chat like this idea and have any thoughts towards it, please share them with Sacred or with us and everything, and talk about it. Maybe there's other things that we haven't really thought about yet. Maybe we're not looking at something the right way, or we've overseen something. It's anything's possible. Yeah.
Well, I mean, unfortunately, Sacred couldn't join us today, so I'm sure he's going to watch this after the fact and be like, "That's not what I meant." Oh my God! Like, shut up.
Yeah, Sacred. If we went completely the wrong direction, should have been there, bro.
You and your have to make money. We're just giving him a hard time. He couldn't get out of work.
Yeah. So I think we rambled on this one for quite some time.
We got a couple ideas on both sides of the spectrum, I feel.
Yeah. Food for thought.
Maybe we provided Sacred with maybe a little other viewpoint, of maybe other considerations. Maybe even someone from VR or even another MMO will look at this and say, well, what if we do this instead with this twist? It might work.
Yep.
And maybe someone will find a way to do it, and that would be perfectly fine by me.
I mean, you can have treasure hunts. You can hide a chest in the guild hall, or somewhere out in the world you put down a chest, and in that chest for your guildies is guild currency. Have at it!
100 guild coins.
The hunt for guild coins, exactly. Maybe you could even use it for ongoing recruits. You have to earn so and so much guild currency before we even look at you.
Oh God!
Before we
You've
even
got
remember
30 days to make 100 coins, or you're out.
Otherwise, I won't remember your name. Just kidding.
Please don't do that.
Anyway, Shy, you got anything from chat?
Yes. Xmoko wanted to ask. Fine, whatever. Wouldn't merchant guildies rather get gold from guildies? It seems it would benefit them best to purchase outside the guild and in the market.
Say that again. Something didn't click in my brain.
Wouldn't merchant guildies rather get gold from guildies? It seems it would benefit them best to purchase outside the guild and in the market.
Merchant guildies.
Well,
I'm assuming Smoko meant. Yeah, I'm never going to let Smoko live that down ever. I'm assuming they meant like guild merchants, that they would rather accept like platinum and gold rather than currency. Theoretically, yes, because what merchant doesn't want money, But if you're going to have a guild currency, you kind of need someone that will accept it.
Well, at the end of the day, it's Birdie. Trying to talk here.
Calm down.
Yep, calm down. We know you want to say something as well.
Right.
With the guild merchant or the merchant in general who wants to go and sell his goods, why can't he do both?
Right.
He can sell a set amount of items for cash, and he can put some in the guild bank for money. When I look at this from the harvester's point of view or from the crafter's point of view, it's a way for them to actually be rewarded in turn for actually contributing towards the guild. That's how I look at that. So if I go out and I harvest 2,000 wood a night, and the next day I go out and I get 500 stone, it's a means for me to actually think about, I'll put this into the guild bank rather than go onto the broker or go to a vendor and sell this off to somebody else. It makes me think about my guild as well at the same time. That's how I kind of look at it.
This question, actually, I don't know why, but it just triggered something in terms of DKP in my head. Like, what if you used them, like, you actually had to pay the raid leader 10 guild currency to loot this because that's what you offered to pay for it. It's the same thing as like an auctioning of DKP or whatever. And I just realized that that could have been where Sacred was going with this whole thing. Because it's a tangible DKP, technically. I know that's a weird thought with digital stuff, but the only problem is then all of a sudden you've got a currency that can be traded between different guildies in order to stack the deck in someone else's favor. That causes a whole another just can of worms right there because.
And then you got another can of worms as well. How do you go about it when you have, instead of having raid guilds, you have raid forces, where it's a consistency of multiple guild people?
Right. Yeah. What do you do if, like, I used to run pub raids? What do I do then? I mean, the DKP system that I used back then, it worked really well because it was literally attendance gives reward.
The way I understand his idea is raid people will earn DKP or have a loot council, but what about those outside of the raid force within the guild? You know, you go into the raid zone, you finally cleared it, everybody's got their gear, you go in there just for fun, you pick up, you know, all the gear. It's not needed by anybody within the raid. You go and flog it to the broker or to the vendor or whatever, or sell it to other players outside the guild. But hey, wait, what about your other members in the guild? Just because they don't raid, isn't being part of a guild, being, you know, a collective, all for one for all, kind of thing, help each other out. So this is kind of how I see Sacred looking at this, that everybody can earn a single currency despite not raiding, for instance. So they have the chance to actually get that breastplate that Lex has been wearing, and, you know, who he got out of a raid dungeon.
Well, I actually have an example of this. In WoW, when I was in a rather large raiding guild, we actually had players that weren't raiders, that were strictly crafters, that would provide people with health potions and mana potions and this and that. But when one of those crafters actually managed to get the time for raiding, they'd come into the raid with like 2 DKP, and the rest of us would have like at least 50 or 100. You know. And I've always looked at that going, that's not fair. They did a lot of work to help people, you know?
Yeah.
Technically, the raid probably would not have advanced as fast as it did had they not put in that work. I mean, could it essentially work where you could say, like, at the end of a raid, everybody in the raid gets 1 guild coin, or everyone in the guild gets 1, you know? But then it's like, well, how do you single out the people who are just AFK?
Yep.
You know? They just sit there. It's like, they're going to raid eventually, and I'm going to get my guild coin. So, I mean, it's a good idea, but there's still a lot of just what ifs.
And another one that, you know, you mentioning the crafters again, you know, just to expand on what you just said there. Like I said earlier on, and throughout this entire episode, all the stuff that people craft costs time, costs money. You know, it costs materials, it costs this, it costs that. And, you know, they do it out of their heart and soul. They do it and provide it towards the guild. So, you know, by rewarding them guild currency, and let's say they did have a conversion in-game where they get guild currency for the items that they provide for the guildies, and they can take that guild currency and turn that into actual money. So they basically get something out of it. Even if it's only a little bit, they still get something out of it that is of value to them, to help them, you know, so that they don't lose out. Because providing guilds with all these items does take out a lot of cash. And not a lot of people will freely, solely go, oh, how much do I owe you? You know, and sometimes crafters go, just pay for the materials. Don't pay for the time. Don't pay for you know, the mats or anything, or the special items needed.
You can get the materials back. You can't get the time back.
Yep. So that's another way of looking at it as well. Is, you know, actually rewarding those people that put in the time for it, and they can basically go to your guild specific bank and turn it in, but it would be at a higher cost, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
It would have to be so high that it's kind of like just
the conversion.
Yeah.
The conversion of guild coin to currency and currency to guild coin. It would have to be high to the point where you'd only ever do it in a pinch. Like if you were just so close to something on either side of it, you know, so close to buying something, a brand new crazy sword, or so close to that cosmetic item or whatever, or, you know, that one coin to get you above the DKP of someone else kind of thing. If you used it for that, you know, it would just have to be pricey to the point where you wouldn't want to dump everything for it. But if you were just that close, you'd be like, oh, I'm just going to do it. Oh, and you would still be like, you'd click a button and be like, oh God, I shouldn't have done it.
Yeah. So anything else from chat, Shy?
Well, the only other thing I have, it's not really a question, it was more of a thought from Corthan the Dwarf. He was thinking that the other thing that this does, even within a guild, it eliminates the need for relationships. Now you're trading in materials for guild currency, so you can buy items from a vendor of some flavor instead of actually interacting between players.
I do see his point. Because instead of saying, hey, does anyone need this stuff, you're just going to go and get your payment for it. Now, if it really was just like converting coin, you know, say it was like a stack of 100 daisies or whatever you want to call it for one coin, you know, would that technically be worth it? Well, probably not. You know, even if it's a low-level gathered material, it probably still would be worth the time, you know. So that's a balance issue on the designer's end that would have to be approached. If the stuff you got, the stuff that you could purchase with Guild Coin, because I'll ignore the DKP side of it for now and go with the cosmetic side we talked about first, and say you get fun items from these Guild Coins and cosmetics. These fun items and this fancy clothing will create instances for people to start a conversation, to start making that connection. Like if one of the items is a sparkler that attaches to the top of my head and follows me for 30 seconds, you know, I'm gonna, me being me, strip down buck naked in game, turn that on and streak through Scargle. I'm pretty sure that's going to start some conversations. That was because of a fun item and my not exactly stable personality. But given the proper design, it would create relationships.
And another thing to look at as well, it does create relationships. And it does create a higher bond within the guild as well. Because there's plenty of people out there within guilds. They look at their rare materials, their rare items that they have, and they go, hell no! I ain't going to put this into the guild bank. I'd rather sell it to the broker. Because I get nothing from it. That's just how people are. You know, that's what I mentioned earlier on. Today, the way we interact as people within guilds is... It's not about what can I bring to the guild. It's what does the guild offer me.
What will I get for being a member of this guild?
And with this,
I see that more often than not.
Yeah. And with this, you're actually thinking twice about being that greedy so-and-so and going, you know, the hell with it. I'll get some guild coin out of this. I'll make somebody happy within the guild. I can go and buy some fluff items or whatever I can do with it. It makes you think twice about before, you know, just hoarding all your stuff and just selling it for the next best price you can get.
Right.
So it works both ways. I can see his point, but you know it goes both ways. There's always two sides of the guild currency.
There's two sides to everything,
and
even a like the most solid idea that you can think of, like the Holy Trinity. Well, there's two sides to that, no matter what.
Another thing to look at, people, it's 2018. We have plastic cards to pay with. We have online transfers like PayPal and stuff like that. Then we have real money. Then
we have electronic currency that technically doesn't exist.
Yep, we have cryptocurrency now. So, you know, it's not any different, really. The suggestion, the idea.
Well, I mean, currency in game is imaginary.
Yep.
So what's one more? As long as there's not 10 more or even 5 more, I'm fine, because I'm one of those people that I would love to run a dungeon 5 or 6 times to get that rare drop, because when it drops, I'm like jumping from my desk screaming. I don't want to grind tokens. That's not fun to me at all.
So a fun thought, touching on something else as well, maybe this is the idea we need to combat RMT. Maybe the guild currency or this currency here is something that only you can use within a guild or within a town or whatever, and that's how you combat it, maybe. But that's a different topic anyway.
It's a possibility. I mean, I'm not a person that could definitively say yes or no.
Anyway, I think we've talked this up and down as much as we can. We hope
we'd be running it around in circles again.
We hope you enjoyed the Theorycraft on Sacred's idea. If you have any thoughts yourselves, want to contribute, talk about
you have
this
a
further,
wacky idea
or a wacky idea, yeah, send it our way. Reach out to Sacred if you want to talk to him about this idea of his, and let him know. Next week's show, we're going to have a good one. We're going to be talking about the harvesting portion in the newsletter, and we're going to expand on the initial thoughts that were provided to us from VR with what they released in the newsletter, and see where we can take harvesting and see where we can go with it, and expand on their thoughts on how they're approaching it at this current point. There's a lot of good things. We've already talked on and off about this off the air, and there's some real good talking points and some real cool ideas and some thoughts of concern that are valid, and we'll be talking about that next Friday. And then after that, so on the 9th of February, we will be sitting down with Pi to do another player Q&A, and then we'll go on break until the 8th of March. And I say that with caution, that we will go on break.
Our last break wasn't exactly a break for me.
Yeah. So, provided VR do not put out a stream between the 10th of February and the 8th of March, we good, bro.
you know Kilson's sitting there going,
Yeah.
8th of March. Okay, we got to do one before then, guys.
Yeah. So, thanks for joining us, everyone. And we'll see you all next Friday. Actually, I'm lying. We'll see you all on Tuesday for Tavern Talk. Tavern Talk, at the moment, we haven't talked about this yet, is at 4 PM. Just so you know, Lex, Tavern Talk's 4 PM still. We'll have to look at that one as well and see what we can do there. Eastern on Tuesday the 30th will basically provide you with all the latest news so far in January and December, because December we obviously didn't do a Tavern Talk, or did we? We didn't.
No, I don't think we did.
No, we didn't.
But the way my memory is, who knows?
Yeah. So join us Tuesday at 4 PM for Tavern Talk, where we cover all the latest news regarding the community, VR, and all that good stuff. And then we'll see you on Friday for the harvesting discussion. So all you crafters out there, look forward to that one. It's going to be a good show. Take care, everyone.
Be safe, everybody.
Jai? You want to say goodbye?
I'm sorry, I had to go mute for a moment. Cricket was attempting to say goodbye to everybody.
She doesn't
I will
like
say
you. She doesn't
goodbye.
like any of you.
So while she's in her quiet mood, I'm going to say, have a great weekend, everybody, and enjoy your day.
Take care, guys.